Good morning, Miss Ruth. Thank you so much for doing the interview with us. We're really excited to have you. My name is Stella. I work as the programs and membership lead for PROWF, a social impact enterprise created to strengthen the leadership of public relations and communications through elite clubs, talent intel, training, and convening. Part of providing a platform for very senior women to talk about their work and to know more about them and their experiences is through a PR Woman of the Month. And for this month, we're very happy to have Ruth Mthembu. She's a communications professional. I just go on to read her bio. All right. Ruth Mthembu is a communication strategist, storyteller, and speaker with a passion for clarity, connection, and impact. With a background in law and experience across corporate communications, conservation advocacy, public engagement, and science communication, she has built a career transforming complex ideas into narratives that move people to think, connect, and act. She currently serves as Senior Communications and Public Engagement Officer at the Africa Earth Research Institute, where she leads communication within the Climate and Health Department. Ruth also serves as Content and Communications Manager as the at the Institute of Internal Communication Africa, where she contributes to driving excellence, innovation, and meaningful dialogue in internal communication across the African continent. She's also the founder of tactfully.co, a platform dedicated to helping young professionals communicate with confidence, empathy, and purpose. Through her work, Ruth continues to shape meaningful conversations and continue to and contribute to the growth of communications professionals. Again, it is our honor to have you as our peer woman of the month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so our first question. I saw that you have a first degree in law, and I'm wondering, how did you get into public relations and communication, and how did you know that yes, this was a career for me?
So it's a very interesting journey that I was on in my academic years. But basically, I knew that I wanted to study law when I was in matric, which is final year of high school. And so I went on to study law. I completed my degree, but it was in my final year of the degree that I decided that I didn't actually want to be a lawyer, even though I love law itself. So I went on to complete the degree. I graduated, but then I realized that my passion is with people and communication. And so I had at that point, I was volunteering at a children's village in my last year of my degree. And so a position had opened up there for a marketing assistant. And so when I completed my degree, I applied for that role at that same children's village. And then that is where my communication journey began. I don't see that it was a waste at all because I do apply my law degree in my everyday work. But it was an interesting journey, and you can imagine the conversation I had to have with my parents about me changing my mind from law and going into communication. But they were very supportive, and so I think that's also what helped me to grow more and more in marketing and communication.
All right, that's good to know. And your parents are really understanding because after going to law and going to law school for years, you then decide to switch. I can imagine what would be their thought process, but it's really great to have supportive parents. Thank you for sharing that. So, can you tell us some of the successful campaigns you've been part of, or some of the campaigns that is very close to your heart that you say, "How I would love to do it all over again."
Sure, that's a very good question. So there are two that come to mind, although there are many, but the two main ones that are near and dear to my heart are the first one is when I was at Mr. Price Group Limited, which is a retail giant in South Africa, and I was an internal communication specialist there. And basically, my role was to keep the whole business updated on what was happening within the business. And at that point, we had about 32,000 employees working in the company, and so it was my role to keep everybody updated, keep everybody up to date with the strategic direction of the business. And so there was one thing that we realized that we needed to update within the organization, and that was our intranet platform. So we made that platform a platform that was easily accessible to everybody, both on their laptops and on their phones. And so it was a wonderful campaign, very close to my heart, because I understood what it meant to be able to get information and not go hunting for it, and not, making sure it wasn't a tiring process. So that was the first campaign. And then the second one was the second campaign that's close to my heart is one that is quite recent, actually. So I currently work at Africa Health Research Institute, as you had mentioned when you read my bio earlier. And so Africa Health Research Institute, or AHRI for short, is a multidisciplinary research institute. So I work within the climate and health department. And so one of our studies, called WEMA, looks at how extreme weather events affect the mental health of vulnerable populations. So we recently did a documentary that aired on ENCA, which is one of the biggest news channels in our country. And basically this documentary was outlining how one of the biggest floods we had to endure in April 2022, how that affected vulnerable populations. So basically, we were showcasing the science and the evidence that we have been able to do over the past few years to show how climate change and extreme weather events are affecting people's mental health. So it was a great way to take the science and package it in a manner that is digestible and easily understood. And it was a great way to get the general public to understand this crisis that we are facing, and to watch it being aired on TV really was such a wonderful highlight, especially for me, just to see how science can play out in a wonderful way, and how the general public can easily access information. So those are the two campaign highlights that are very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I really love what you said for the first campaign and the second campaign. And the second campaign is very close to home because it's currently rainy season and there's currently flood. Not only in Nigeria here, we see other countries currently experiencing flood. We see warehouses losing their products to flooding. I think the climate change is something we actively need to be part of, because we see that over the years it's getting really bad. Businesses are losing, making losses. They're losing money. For a residential area, people are moving out of their houses. It's really a challenge, and that campaign is really impactful. And I believe that we need more of such campaigns across Africa, so that we were able to reduce or mitigate the level of flooding we experience during rainy season. Very great insight that you've shared regarding the campaigns you worked on. So, and the next question is a build up from the previous question. You worked with the internet team, that's the IT guys, and then I believe you worked with climate specialists. So, how do you collaborate with other teams or departments to align your PR and communication strategies to achieve the broader business goals?
Yes, so I think the first thing is making your team members or other teams that you collaborate with understand that communication is not an afterthought. It's not something you apply at the end of a project or at the end of a study. It is something that needs to be in line with strategy from the get-go, from the beginning, right until the end. So in my collaboration with various departments, so when I was at Mr. Price Group, I was collaborating with the IT department, with the human resources department, with the various division heads. And then at Africa Health Research Institute, as you rightfully said, it was with the climate specialists, the climate scientists, the social scientists, but really walking alongside them and making them understand that communication is something that needs to be there from the beginning. And so what has really helped is in my collaborating with them, I often had to ensure that I was involved in the process with them. So, for example, in our climate and health study, when they're having workshops, gathering data, gathering information, gathering evidence, I make sure that I am there so that I too can understand what they are researching on. And that helps me to enable myself to communicate the science, to communicate the evidence in a manner that can be understood. So it would be involving myself in team meetings, being there, even when it seems like I may not understand what is going on, because some of the times, you sit in meetings or in workshops where it seems like, oh, the information is quite difficult to understand. But that was an opportunity for me to ask questions, to give them an opportunity to explain it to me so that I could understand it and we could walk hand in hand to work together to be able to communicate this to the general public. So I found that collaboration really has to happen from the beginning. It's not something that happens at the end, at the end of the study or at the end of a project when you want to tell the world about what you've done. It has to be something that is thoughtfully weaved in strategically right from the beginning.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. And what you said that communicating or collaborating should be at the beginning. This is what most PR professionals are actively speaking on, because previously you see they will have board meetings on what they want to do, and then they will not tell the communications manager that this is what we want to do XYZ in this social amount of time. And we've seen articles, we've seen thought pieces that are speaking actively that communications professionals, PR managers should be in the room when decisions are made. Would you agree with this? If you could speak more on that.
Yes, absolutely. You are 100% right about that. I've seen so many disasters of what happens when you do not involve PR specialists, communication specialists, when you do not have them in the room when decisions are made. I've seen these disasters play out terribly. And then what happens is, because a disaster has happened, then, leadership wants to rope in PR and communication specialists to mop up the mess that has happened. And you often find that it doesn't really work well when you do it that way. So there is merit, there is reward in inviting and including PR and communication specialists from the beginning when the decisions are being made, because you can find that when you do that, you are assisted as leadership in finding what the risks may be. And also you are being, what's the word I'm looking for? You are able to be advised on how to avoid those risks, so that you're able to basically do the business that you need to do, instead of being reactionary and trying to mop up a mess. Including PR and communication specialists from the beginning in the room when decisions are being made, actually enables your business or organization to proceed well with what you aim to do. And you spend more time being proactive and moving forward and being progressive than being reactionary if you hadn't included them from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I completely agree. Instead of being reactive, PR should be process of being proactive. Thank you for sharing that, and we hope more organizations understand the importance of having communications and PR professionals in the room to be part of the decision makers. Thank you for sharing that. So you've been working for a while, for a very long time, I must say, in communications. So, what would you say is the most challenging part of working in the PR and communications industry? Putting the fact that you're a female professional.
That's a very good question. I would say, the challenges have been have been many, but the ones that come to mind is that as a communication professional, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people want to talk, a lot of people want to be heard, a lot of people want to make their opinions known, but not many people want to listen. And the same can be said even for us as PR and communication professionals. I remember at the beginning of my career, I spent less time listening and more time talking, more time wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen, wanting to be, taken seriously. And I realized that actually one thing I was not doing well was that I wasn't listening. And this posed a big challenge for me because when it came to actually doing the work, when it came to communicating to whichever audience we needed to communicate, I found that I would often stumble and have issues with that. But when I looked at the root of that, it was because I didn't spend enough time listening. And so I had to really take a step back and ask myself how I can actually be a better listener, because it was really challenging for me in my earlier years of my career to do well, because I found that I wasn't listening enough. So that was the one challenge. But then what came with that, when I started to listen more, I started to also realize that being a woman in the room was starting to be quite difficult, because that meant that I also had to make my voice heard even more, while others, my male colleagues would just simply talk and be heard. I realized that often I felt like I had to shout to be heard, both figuratively and, and realistically. I had to, I had to feel like I had to shout to be heard. And so this posed another challenge for me within the various industries that I've worked in. But in terms of working through those challenges, I realized that I had to learn my colleagues, I had to learn my managers, had to learn their mannerisms, I had to learn, their various moods, and I had to learn when would be the best time to talk to them, when would be the best time to feel heard. And I found that over the years that in doing that, coupled with listening more, I was able to overcome these challenges that I've just spoken of. Look, I still deal with some of these challenges to this day, because every human has different personalities. So you are going to come across those challenges. But I found that listening more has definitely helped me overcome the challenge of not being heard. It's helped me to overcome the challenge of not communicating effectively. So yeah, it's been a work in progress, but it's been. I'm glad that I've been able to find ways to work on these challenges.
All right, thank you for sharing. It really stood out for me, active listening, because most time we just want to say something, or even when someone is speaking, we just want to get to the end of it and get the task done. But what you said is very important. Actively listening is also very important, and I believe that most professionals are actively missing this, especially when you're just starting your career, because they might be giving you feedback, and if you do not listen actively, you can't ask the right questions. That's just it. So active listening is part of effective communication, I would say, That's really insightful. Thank you so much for sharing that. But would you say that again, putting in context, as a female, have you experienced any stereotype in the workplace because you were a female?
Yes, I've definitely experienced various stereotypes in the workplace because I'm a female. Sure, there's so many, but a few that come to mind, and I'm sure many women watching this will identify with what I'm about to say. Is women in the workplace are often seen to be very emotional, and that has always been said in a very negative light. I think that being emotional is actually a good thing. I think, especially in the PR and communication space, it is a good thing to be emotional, be in touch with your emotions, because communication without emotion it really doesn't come across. It really can't get across to your audience. So this I've often received the stereotype that, oh, I'm a woman, so I'm very emotional. And sometimes people don't take me seriously because when I raise some challenges or raise some views on certain things and I get passionate about it, some people think that I'm being very emotional. But actually, emotions are a good thing. So that's one stereotype that comes to mind. And I think also another one that comes to mind when it comes to communication, especially, is that a communication specialist can just do everything. We do everything. We take pictures. You can't find somebody to take a picture. Call Ruth. Ruth could take a picture for us. You want a design to be made in 5 minutes. Let's call Ruth and she'll do it. And I think there's a stereotype around communication specialists as being people that can just do magic tricks. And even more so as a woman, we expected to just drop everything and just do magic tricks in the workplace and make everything go away or make everything perfect. And that just isn't true. So it's been a shock to some people's systems that I've worked with, to be able to educate them that I'm not that, so that people can unlearn their stereotypes of women, especially in this space.
I love what you said, and I can definitely relate to it, because when I was working with an agency, when there's no work, you see other things will come up. They will say you should go and do this, you go and do other things that are not within your JD, and you will just have to do it. And I remember attending a webinar where someone also said this, that she's a communications manager, but she's in a meeting with executive and they're telling her to take the minutes of the meeting.
Exactly.
She was like, someone else can take it, because I can't do that for my role. I can't do that. They were looking at her as if she was being defensive, as if she wasn't understanding. But that is why I want to ask you, so how were you able to stand your ground and saying this is not part of the job that I do? Were you able to do that, or you just played along?
No, I made sure when I start a new job, I find that if you make your boundaries clear from the beginning, it actually helps. Because if you try to bring boundaries in to make people understand your role, when these issues pop up here and there, it makes it even more difficult. But if you can educate your colleagues and your team members from the beginning, that actually helps. So I found that over the years, I didn't do well at this in the first few years of my career. I would always think that I'd have to, let things slide and remove my boundaries a bit and not remind people about my role, because I thought, I needed to be nice. And if I put boundaries in place, maybe it would come across as being rude. But in the recent years, I've really made it a point from the time that I start a new role. I make it a point for people to understand what it is I do and what it is I don't do. And if they do forget, then it really is as simple as stating to them what my job description is, because some people forget and they think that, they know what your job description is, but there is no harm in reminding colleagues and people you work with about what it is you do and what it is you don't do. It's not a disrespectful thing. In fact, it is a respectful and professional thing to remind your colleagues about what you actually do and don't do. And it actually helps you to work well. So next time they know that, okay, you're not the person they're going to come to take minutes in a meeting, because you told them from the beginning that you're not a minute taker. You are a comms professional, and this is what you do. So sometimes you can communicate it once and it's understood. Sometimes you need to reinforce it, but it is a respectful thing to make it known what it is you do as a PR or communication professional.
That's really insightful. Set boundaries from the start so that everyone is aware. Thank you. In your experience, does public relations differ in South Africa compared to other regions?
So I will, if you don't mind me answering this from a communication perspective, because that is I think I would be more comfortable answering from that point of view. But I think even with PR as well, I'd say that communication, while the principles remain the same, the way in which you communicate changes in various contexts. So even just in South Africa alone, where I am based, we have many, many cultures. We are a multicultural country, multilingual country. And so with that in mind, you cannot communicate with a silver bullet and think it's going to land the same for everybody. There are nuances, there are things that you have to think about. There are things you have to think about when it comes to what is appropriate and not appropriate to communicate at this time to this group of people, for example. So there is no one size fits all, although the principles of communication remain the same. So I think that that's just in South Africa alone. Now, if you're looking at Africa as a continent, there's even more cultures around Africa, more languages around around Africa, and different ways in which things are done. So one always, as a PR and communication professional, one always has to keep learning about how you communicate to different audiences, what is appropriate. Because I've seen many situations where disasters have come about because not enough thought was put in place in terms of how to communicate a certain message and how it would land with a specific audience. So I'd say there's no one size fits all. And that is why communication professionals and PR professionals really need to keep learning people in order to understand the best way to communicate to your audience.
All right. Thank you so much. Understand people so that you know how best to communicate to them. Like you said, different regions, different ways they communicate, and understand a message. So a message that you might be passing in the US, if you pass it like that in your country, it might be taken out of context. But cultural nuances are also part of things that should be considered when communicating with your audience. Very insightful, and thank you for sharing. To our next question, how do you stay updated with the latest industry trends and best practices in the industry?
So I'm a lover of learning and I love reading. So I think this has definitely worked in my favor in terms of keeping up with the latest trends. I think if there's one of the many things that my law degree taught me is that you have to read, and you have to read really well and analyze. So I stay up to date with the latest trends by getting involved with different organizations, communication organizations around our country and around the African continent. So, for example, there is an organization based in Nigeria called the Comms Avenue. And the Institute for Internal Comms Africa, which I'm part of, we actually have a very good relationship with the Comms Avenue and have worked with them on various webinars, etc. But I tune into quite a few webinars and events that the Comms Avenue hosts online, and that is how I'm able to keep up with what the latest trends are when it comes to communication in Africa as a continent as a whole. And also I read quite a lot of journal articles as well, so I love research as well. So it may not speak to trends, but it definitely speaks to the research that is happening in the background to understand and have a holistic view of how comms has grown in certain periods. And that has helped me as well. I also listen to podcasts. I'm very picky though on the podcasts that I listen to. And these are podcasts that speak mainly to communication. They dissect, certain campaigns that may have worked or may not have worked, and how to better deal with them going forward. So these are the various ways that I keep up with the latest trends in PR and comms.
All right, that's really great to know. We're also partners with the Comms Avenue. We have partnership with them, and yes, for our Experiencing Peer Summit, we co-delivered it in previous months. So yeah, Comms Avenue is a great community for professionals across Africa, and we actively work together for programs and other initiatives. Thank you. What advice would you give to practitioners or professionals who wants to lead with impact? So they're saying beyond the salary, I want to lead with impact. So even if I leave the organizations, they will know that when Stella was here, it was different. So what advice would you give to that professional?
Wow. So there are two pieces of advice I'd like to give. The first one is a quality that I think all comms professionals should have, and that is the quality of being tactful. And the second piece of advice I'd like to talk to is the fact that the first and last time you had to prove yourself as a communication or PR professional was in your interview, and that's it. So I'll speak to the first piece of advice. I am a big believer in the quality of tact. I think being tactful is a quality that is underrated, but a quality that will carry you as a communication professional. So what is tact? Tact is the ability to be able to communicate in a way that is effective with emotional intelligence. It is also the ability to be diplomatic, the ability to prove or make your point without making an enemy. So that is what tact is. It's such a loaded quality, but it's a holistic one that will carry you. You need to be tactful as a PR and comms professional. And I found that has helped me. I mean, to a point where I even started a whole website just that deals with being tactful. So I would say that I would encourage communication and PR professionals to be tactful. It helps you in meetings, in campaigns, in dealing with humans, because let's face it, as long as humans continue to exist, the need for effective communication will continue to exist. So you are central as a communication professional to communication. You are central to that in dealing with humans. And so in dealing with humans, you need to be tactful. You need to exercise emotional intelligence. You need to be able to make a point without making an enemy. You need to be diplomatic. You need to know when to listen, when it's good to be quiet, when it's good to talk. So this is a quality that I'd say, we all need to have as communication and PR professionals. And it's a quality that you don't master. You don't get to master. You actually have to keep learning this quality right until the end of your life. It's just such a beautiful quality to possess. And then secondly, the first and last time you had to prove yourself that you are good at what you do is in the interview process. When you were interviewing for the job that you currently have, that was when you had to prove that you're good at what to do and at what you do. You do not need to work and keep proving yourself as if you do not already possess the skills that you do to be an excellent communicator, an excellent PR professional. You are in the role that you are in because you are that good. So I think sometimes we discount ourselves, sometimes we undermine ourselves, sometimes we think we don't qualify. And we think that we have to keep proving ourselves. You don't. You need to work hard. You need to be effective. You need to operate in excellence. But you don't have to keep proving yourself. You were given the job because you are good at what you do. So those are just the two pieces of advice that I would give to any PR and comms professional.
All right, thank you. Yes, if you pass the interview and you got the job, you are good at what you do. You do. So anytime that imposter syndrome wants to creep in, I think that is a really great reminder that I got this job, so I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing a great job. So thank you for sharing. I don't know if you want to talk more on tactfully .co for people that will be interested in learning more or visiting the website to build their communications competence. If you'd want to talk more on that.
Sure. So I'll just give a little bit of background on it. So I started a website called tactfully.co. So it's tact-fully.co. And the reason that I started this website is because a few years ago I had a meltdown after work relating to a specific communication that I had to send out. And I thought to myself in that moment that I wish I was able to have access to a platform that would give me advice on how to communicate well, or encourage me in moments where I feel like I didn't communicate well. And so I thought to start this platform called Tactfully. And the point of this website is to help young professionals to master effective communication. So often we come out of our academic years and we are not well equipped to be able to communicate effectively. So this website is not just for communication professionals, but it's also for anybody, any human being who wants to be able to communicate better. And so this website has free resources like ebooks and infographics and articles that help young professionals on how to communicate, especially in the workplace. It equips you so that you can feel better empowered to communicate effectively in your workplace. So it's free, it's accessible. If you have access to the internet, whether on your phone or on a laptop, you can freely access this website and get tips on how to better communicate.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you want to know more about Tactfully, it is tact-fully.co. Thank you for sharing that. Then our last question for you is: someone is in mid-level and the person is saying, what skills do I need to develop to get to senior level? This person has been applying for job. They want to leave their mid-level role to more senior role, but they are not getting jobs, and in their current jobs they are not transitioning into more senior roles. What skills do you think they need to develop for them to be able to get to more senior roles?
That's a good question. So if you are in a position of looking for a job and you want to know what skills you need or how you can upgrade on those skills, I would say read. First of all, read. A lot of people do not like to read. And I think that our ability to process information really comes from our ability to listen and read. So in your spare time, pick up a book, whether it's a fiction book or a non-fiction book, and read. I know a lot of people think, oh, I'd be wasting my time. You're definitely not wasting your time in reading. Even if it's a newspaper, I know people don't like doing newspapers anymore, but read a newspaper article or read an online article, develop your vocabulary, understand what's going on in the world around you, and you're only going to do that by reading. So that's a skill, I'd say, that one would need to have, whether you're looking for a job or you're already in a job. But if you are looking for a job, use your time to read. That's the first one. And I'd say you could even read communication articles, communication-based content to help you develop in that skill. Secondly, I would say listen to good podcasts or good documentaries that speak about communication and PR, that can help you develop your listening muscle, because you will need to listen. It's a valuable skill to have. It's a skill that people are not wanting to develop anymore. As I said earlier, people want to talk. Everyone wants to be heard, but no one wants to listen. So develop that skill by listening. And when I say listening, it's active listening. So after you listen to a podcast episode, for example, take a notebook and a pen and write down what you enjoyed most about that podcast, what stood out to you, what were the highlights. It actually helps you to develop the way that you listen more. And if you are in a job already and you are looking at wanting to grow even more within an organization, I know this may not be the easiest for everybody, because it truly does depend on the type of manager you have. Yeah. But I need us to stop looking at our managers as our enemies. They are not our enemies. In fact, our managers are our allies. They are our allies. They are there to help us, actually. They should be there to help us also develop in our skills. So for me personally, I remember that there were some short courses that I wanted to do to help me in internal communication when I was still working more in the internal communication role. And I sat down with my manager and I said, I identified short courses online, and I sat down with him and I said, hey, these are courses that I would like to do, because I feel that they would help me develop my skill. And I feel like in them helping me develop my skills, it would actually contribute to my role here within the organization. Will you support me in this? And so in showing my manager how it will help me and how this skill will help the organization, he was able to approve that, and I was able to do these short courses. Another thing that I did was I would ask my manager if I could sit in the meetings that were, of a senior level, to listen in and understand what direction the organization was going in. Of course, it's not always possible, because sometimes the things that are discussed in these meetings are such that I cannot be privy to that information. But another way to do it would be to ask your manager, what do you discuss in these meetings? As a manager, how do you contribute in these meetings in order to find a way forward as an organization? Teach me, I'd like to learn that, And because I had a good relationship with my manager, this worked really well. I do understand not everybody has that relationship with their manager, in which case I would advise you to then try and find a mentor, somebody within your industry space who you respect, who would have the time for you to take you on this journey, and who you can get guidance from. because this would help you. It's another way for you to gain skills, and it's another way for you to learn more so that you are better equipped to climb up this ladder within the organization you're in.
All right, thank you. Reading, actively listening, then looking for mentors, and if you need help, ask for help. Thank you very much for your time. That is all the questions we have for you. I don't know if you have any last words for us before the end of the interview.
Oh, my last words would be just go forth and conquer. Believe in your skills and believe in your expertise, and put your head down and do the work, and believe that you are valuable to the organization that you work for.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.